Hello there, and welcome to the first and last episode of John and Anon, Truth or Lie.
We are in our junior English class during 5th block on December of 2015.
This is Francine.
And I'm Zoe.
Here in this podcast, we'll explain our opinions on whether it's right or wrong for John Proctor to never sign his confession from the play The Crucible.
And for Adnan Syed never admitting to the murder of Haymon Lee that happened in January of 1999.
It is 1692, and John Proctor finds himself caught up in the witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts. Mary Warren, his housekeeper, accused him of being a witch. John never signed his confession because it would mean he sold his friends out, lying about them as well as himself. He knows he's not a witch and does not want his name signed to a confession that is a complete lie.
He would be saying he's a sinner like he has been since his affair with Abigail Williams, even when he was married to Elizabeth Proctor. If he signed his name to be posted on the church door, it would mean he would be lying straight to God. He does not want to lie to God, even though it would ultimately save his life.
He justifies this lie by saying that he's a bad person anyway, so what's the difference? As he goes to his hanging as a free man, Elizabeth weeping at the window, quoting, "He have his goodness now, God forbid I take it from him," unquote. Proctor sacrifices his reputation in order to save his wife and his 4 children from becoming orphans. He also had to stop the court proceedings.
So that's that. What do you think? Was it a good idea for John Proctor to not sign his name to the confession to the court, or should he have just told the lie to save his life? Since he is lying, at one point he says he cannot sign the confession because that would be a lie. Then, before he is hanged, with a cry of his whole soul, quoting, "I have given you my soul, leave me my name," unquote.
For me, I think it was bold of him. He's a brave man sticking up for his family and his community. He took all the blame after so much nonsense in the court system.
I think what he did was a good thing, even if he did lie at first. He was very courageous for saying he's a witch, even though he very clearly is not one. What he did was admirable. He is trying to protect his kids from becoming orphans, like so many kids in the past few months had. Now on to Anon. He was accused of the murder of Haymon Lee, his ex-girlfriend. In our class, we listened to the podcast called Serial by Sarah Koenig, and we learned a lot about his case and how they came across Anon being the killer. The evidence used against him was not at all solid, hard evidence. They used his religion, Islam, against him. They were also saying he was Pakistani like his parents, even when he was born in the U.S. Adnan did ask for a plea deal, but did not get one due to his attorney, Christina. Sarah interviewed people that said that she was well known, but it seemed that, quote, she threw the case on purpose to get more money for the appeal, unquote.
Like John, Anon was accused by someone he would never suspect to accuse him, Jay, Anon's not-so-close friend. His testimony is the only evidence that points in Anon's direction. Even though the story mostly does not fit into the timeline or phone records, Jay changes the story from the first and second interview with the police. We, as listeners to this case, do not know if he's lying, forgetting, or if he actually remembered what happened on the second interview with the police. He could be asking someone what to say, so they have the same story, making up one because he does not like Anon, or Jay is actually the killer and blaming it on Anon. So many possibilities on why Jay would keep changing his story.
Adnan is now serving a life sentence in prison for the murder of Haymon Lee. He's never going to get parole because he sticks to his story that he did not kill Hay. People say Adnan might have just suddenly snapped and killed her, but he is not a sociopath because he shows signs of empathy. He cried when he found out Hay had died. This whole case does not make sense, and it does not add up.
So do you think Anon was smart for sticking to his story, even when he would be in prison for the rest of his life? Or should he have admitted to the murder so he would spend less time in prison?
I think what Anon is doing is also admirable. Although he's doing time in prison for murder, he's not lying and changing his story just so he can get out.
I think he's making a statement to the court how outrageous it is. The investigators did not take any tests that really proved Anand did it, other than the ridiculous fingerprint on the map of Lincoln Park where Hay was found. Anand was her boyfriend and had been in the car many times. He would have just grabbed it once and moved it.
Anand's court cases do not make sense because they had no hard evidence against him in order for the jury to find him guilty. There is always the possibility that he did do it, but I personally believe he did not do it. He probably had some involvement, but he was not at all guilty of murder. There was not enough facts to lock Anand behind bars.
John was in the wrong place at the wrong time and got on the bad side of the wrong people. He was not guilty of being a witch, but he was accused because he pointed out the flaws of the court. He wanted the power to be taken away from the children, because whenever they got mad at someone, they accused that person of being a witch.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, John and Anand, Truth or Lie.
I hope you enjoyed.